So today's lesson, we're going to learn about Photoshop and layers. And the reason I want to do that is because I want to find out the differences between all of the auto tone and the auto contrast features in Photoshop and see if I can figure out how to see a difference. So I've downloaded these files from the Seestar. And this is the Dumbbell Nebula, and I chose that one because it's visible. This one has 60 10-second exposures. And so I'm just going to double click on it. And because Photoshop is set to my default program, it's going to open Photoshop. If yours is set to something else, you'll want to do the open with and then open with Photoshop. So this is what we see in Photoshop. And we want to enhance it, but we're beginners, so we don't really know how. And so we're going to go over here to the layers. And the reason I want to do this is because I don't want to save every option I do and have to undo every one. I want to be able to compare between different versions and then choose which one I like. And so right here you see this is a background. And what the layers are in Facebook, it's kind of like taking a sheet of paper and stacking it upon each other. They aren't invisible at this point unless you tell it to be invisible or opaque. These ones it's just like a solid piece of paper and you stack another layer of piece of paper on top of another. So right now we have one piece of paper, which is the background, which is the photo that opened. So what I want to do is I want to right click on this background and it opens up this dialog box, and we're going to duplicate this layer because I don't want what I change to change my original file. And so I'm going to do this one to auto tone because I think that's the first one in that list. So now you'll see that I have two pieces of paper in my file. This is the background one and this one is the auto tone one, which we haven't manipulated yet. So they're exactly the same. So now I'm going to go over here to image and do auto tone. And you see it made a little bit of difference. Now I want to compare the two. And so right by the box here in the layering is a little eyeball. If it's on, it's saying that's what I'm seeing. And these pieces of paper are in order. So this is the top piece of paper. This is page 2 of the pieces of paper. So what I'm seeing is this auto tone piece of paper. Now I want to turn it off and I can toggle it pretty quickly so I can see the difference. So if I turn it off, you see that it changes, and now I apply the auto tone and I can change it. So I can decide which piece of paper I like the best. Well, we want to do some of the other auto corrections to compare those. So we're going to right click on this background again and create a new layer. And this piece of paper, we're going to layer auto contrast. I believe that's the second one. And so it appears over here in the layers. Now you see all of them are visible, but the only one we can see is the top piece of paper. That's this one. We want to manipulate this one with that auto contrast. So we're going to go over here to image and do auto contrast. And sometimes you don't see a big difference between them. So we want to compare. So right now we're seeing the top piece of paper. And so we're going to turn that piece of paper off. And now we're seeing this piece of paper. And that was the original. So you see, that's the difference between auto contrast and the original. And now we're looking at auto contrast and auto tone. So auto tone is kind of a purpley hue. And if I turn it off, we're seeing the auto contrast. You see the difference? So if I turn on auto tone and I turn off auto contrast, it doesn't matter because this is the top piece of paper. So if I turn off the auto tone, what I'm seeing is this one, the background, because this one is turned off. right there. I'm going to turn them all back on so we can compare. And what's the next one? Auto color. So let's do the same thing. We're going to duplicate that layer because we don't want to adjust the original. And this one will be auto color. So now it's listed here. And now we need to go in and format that with the auto color. So we're going to go auto. Make sure it's highlighted over here because that's the one we're adjusting, and change it to auto color. But we didn't see a difference because we're still looking at these ones. So we're still looking at that top piece of paper, and that's page 3. So if we want to see the difference between all of these, we're going to turn those off. Now this is just the auto color and this is the original. So we want to compare those two. So you see that there's a difference. So what you want to do is select which one you like the best. So do you like that auto tone or the auto contrast better? Which one do you like better? I kind of like the auto contrast better. And then we want to compare between these two. Which one do you like? Whoops, sorry, I clicked the wrong one. Do you like the auto contrast or the auto color better? Because now it's the auto color that we're seeing. I kind of like the darker background. It looks more natural. But some people, everybody's taste is a little bit different. And so I'm going to keep it the auto contrast. So now let's see, what's the difference between the original and what I selected? Which do you like better? There is a difference. I actually kind of like the original better. So that's how you use this layering to compare things. And that's covering the auto tone, the auto contrast, and the auto color. Let me know down in the comments if you enjoy this kind of content, and we'll go through learning each of these steps together, and hopefully we can learn how to edit some of the pictures we've been getting off of our cameras. Thanks for joining.